We made it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Racing Bet Preview, brought to you live. Me from WA, Trent from Victoria. We've overcome one or two hiccups along the road, but we got there in the end. And we're ready to preview one of the big three weekends of the Australian Spring Racing Carnival. It's Caulfield Cup weekend. Of course, we've got the Everest in Sydney as well, two of the great races on the Australian racing calendar. I'm your host, Tim Geers, joined by Trent Crebbin on the other side. Trent, looking forward to another big weekend of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crunch time now. Spring Carnival, Caulfield Cup Day, big fields, Everest, of course, the headline sprint race of the world, and it should be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, it should be. We're going to dissect both of the weekend's feature races in depth. We'll take you through the leading chances. Might even go through every runner in the Everest if we have time, but certainly plenty to talk about in the Caulfield Cup after the barrier draw and also the Everest as well. We'll also take you through our best bets for both Randwick and Caulfield this weekend. We'll try and find something at longer odds with our best value bets. And as you can see, this show is brought to you by betdeluxe.com.au, serious betting for serious punters. So if you are having a bet this weekend, do check out betdeluxe.com.au, and we thank them for sponsoring this week's show. Trent, talk to me about the track at Caulfield this week. How are you expecting it to play? Because there was a little bit of conjecture last week's meeting, whether it played fairly or whether it wasn't fair. What was your thoughts last weekend, and what are your thoughts heading into this weekend?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Last week, it was upgraded to a good 3 straight away after race 1. Some suggested it was closer to a 2. I thought it played fine. It played fast, which some people get a little bit antsy about, but I thought the track played fine. They've got 3 big meetings to get through at Caulfield. Of course, we had the 1,000 Guineas on Wednesday. So I think, the track's going to be showing a little bit of wear and tear. There is a lot of rain around. I think there's about 15 to 20 mils on Friday, 10 mils on Saturday or so. So if that all comes, or if we get at least half of that, I think the track will be genuinely rain affected. I've done my form off about a soft 7, but it could get a little bit worse than that. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, probably similar over in Sydney. I'm just looking now at the updated track conditions because I know it was in the soft range this morning and I know there's more rain to fall. So currently rated a soft 7 at Randwick, the rail in the true position. So let's hope for some fair racing. But if there is more rain to come, we could be racing in the slop in Sydney. So we'll just keep our eye on that as we go. Any other races that stand out to your eye on the card at Caulfield? Of course, we've got the Caulfield Cup and we're going to go through our best bets in a second. But are there any other races that kind of appeal?
Yeah, look, I mean, they're all good races around this time of year. I think the Caulfield Sprint Race 10 is a really strong contest over 1,000 metres. You've got Enthar, the Blue Diamond favourite, resuming. So I think that should be a really interesting race, and a couple of the Oaks and Derby trials again, which we'll touch on one of those a little bit later.
All right, let's get stuck into. We'll start with our best value bets, something for the punters. Had a bit of odds. We'll try and kick off the show with a long price winner or two. And we'll start with you at Caulfield, Trent. Your best value bets, you're going to be playing 2 horses in race 8 on the card. Horse number 2, Varda, currently $5.50 with Bet Deluxe, and number 8, Lashes at $26. Take us through your thoughts there.
Yeah, so this is the Alinghi Stakes for the mares. I thought Varda deserved to be shorter, and I think she should be favourite here. In an open race, I really liked her run first up at Warwick Farm. That was over 1,000 metres. She drifted quite heavily in the market there. I think she opened about $2.50, jumped $5.50. She ran a narrow second to Lord Olympus. I think that was a pretty strong race there. I think she's better suited stepping up to 1,100 metres. Got a really good second up record with 5 starts, 2 wins in a second. She loves wet tracks. She's 3 from 3 on heavy. So the wetter, the better for her. I think Lane can just keep her out of trouble, potentially 3 wide around the shoot start, which is no problem. And I think she sets up really well here. Lash is the other one I think I want to play at around $26 or so. She comes here first up, really good first up record. She's only missed a place once. She's had 1 go at Caulfield. I thought she was really good there. She ran 4th, beaten just over 2 lengths by Probabile over 1,200 metres. Another one that's really good on wet tracks. Gets a really good map barrier 5. Brett Preble riding in very hot form, and you're getting a big price about her. So I'm happy to play those 2, Varda and Lashes, in race 8 at Caulfield.
Okay, sounds good. And we'll move on to my best value bets of the day. And I'm going to waste no time at Randwick. I'm getting stuck in early in the day. Race number 1 on the card. I'm going to back 2 horses here, similar to you. Horse number 1, Arapaho for Bjorn Baker and James McDonald, currently around $19, I think. And horse number 4, Zing, at $13, both with betdeluxe.com.au. Look, I thought this was a pretty open race, and I'm just going off the fact that the track's going to be wet. And I think these two are slightly over the odds. J-Mac jumping on the top weight, Arapaho carrying the full 61.5 certainly catches the eye. I know he wasn't flattering first up behind Big Parade, but he does get a big drop in grade here. That was a benchmark 94 race. He's back to a benchmark 78. Second up, J-Mac on. And I know he's drawn wide, but if you look at his record on wet ground, he's had 6 starts on a soft track for 3 wins. So he's yet to win since coming to Australia. And look, he would need to improve, I do concede, but I just thought at $19, the setup there suggests to me that he could run a little bit of a race here at juicy odds. The second horse, Zing, we could be going off a run, probably 2 runs too early. She's got a very good third up record. She hasn't won from 4 starts first up from a spell before, but she does have a very good record on wet ground. She's had 6 starts on good tracks for just the 1 minor placing, but if you look at her record in the wet, she's had 13 starts for 4 wins and 6 minor placings. So 10 of her 13 starts in the wet, she's featured in the finish. So Sam Clipperton riding for Chris Waller first up, that's not really a combination I'd be launching into. But like I said, I thought it was a pretty open race. She rarely is far away. She rarely runs a poor race, and especially in the wet, as I've just said, she's never far away. So, yeah, I thought at $13 or $14, she could run a cheeky little race as well. So race 1, number 1, Arapaho, and number 4, Zing, my best value bets of the day at Randwick. Hopefully we can start the card in strong style. All right, let's get into our best value bets, our best bets of the day, Trent. We'll kick off with you at Caulfield because my best bet of the day is going to come up in the Everest, so we'll leave that for a little bit later. Your best bet in Melbourne, Caulfield race 4, number 10, Kapalua Sunset. A tick over even money with betdeluxe.com.au.
Yeah, pretty keen here, Kapalua Sunset. She's on an Oaks path here. This is the ethereal stakes for the fillies over 2,000 metres. You see her win here, dominant fashion. Look, it was only a Kyneton maiden. She was backed into $1.40 and she won as expected. It was really strong late. She didn't beat much there, but the way she did it was a track gallop. She was basically never got out of second gear and won by 7. The first up run was also quite good. The debut run behind a couple of handy horses, hitting the line well. I think the further they go, the better she's going to get. Up to 2,000 metres is ideal. She's already, both her runs have already been on soft track. She's by Tavistock. The wetter, the better, I think, for her as well. And I think she's just got more upside and brings a bit of different form to the other fillies. They've kind of been going around. They do come out of some decent form races behind the likes of Yearning and Elusive Express, who we saw Quinella the 1,000 Guineas. But I just think at 2,000 metres, Kapalua Sunset's the real stayer of the field, and she's going to be the one that's really powering away from them late. So she's already been well backed. I could see her starting odds on. I think Brett Preble's got a huge opinion of her, and I think the stable do as well. I think this might be their number 1 Oaks seed. So pretty keen, Kapalua Sunset. I think she gets the job done in race 4.
All right, and a couple of viewer questions already coming in. And if you do have a question about any horse or any race or just any thoughts throughout the show, make sure you pop them in the comments, and they'll show up on our screen, and we can feature them on the show as we go. Dylan's saying he's keen for this. I assume the preview show or the weekend's racing, both. Thanks for tuning in, Dylan. And another Dylan, two Dylans, 2 different spellings of Dylan, says, thoughts on Eagles Crag in the first, Trent?
Yeah, really interesting question, Dylan. I've been a big fan of this horse ever since his Pakenham maiden win when he came over to Australia, OTI Racing Import. He ran behind Mr. Brightside first up at Sandown. It was a really slow tempo. He got over racing, finished off well. That form line obviously reads well for this. Went to Benella, started $1.45, toyed with them in a BM64. Steps up in grade here. My query is a wet track and also that he's got the glue-on shoes on. I actually sent a message to the stable asking about them, and they said it's not a huge issue. It's just a bit of farrier work that they did, but they had to declare it as glue-on shoes. So look, he's $2. I don't know if I want to be diving in at that price. Hopefully, maybe you get a little bit better. I think he's clearly the most talented horse in the race with a lot of upside, but I'd be hoping for $2.50. So maybe just keep your powder dry there and wait for a little bit better, Dylan.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. I did see that on the on Twitter this morning your comment to the stable. I'm trying to put it up on the screen.
Archie Alexander
for the
replied
viewers
to me this morning.
Yeah.
Which was good to see.
I will try and share the screen here, and you can see what their comments were. Hopefully that pops up. So they said, "Hi Trent, they're not glue-on shoes. He's got very brittle, small feet, and the product is placed on the outside of the foot to allow the farrier a better area to work with. Most European horses have average feet."
So yeah.
There you go.
I don't know exactly what to make of that, but I guess you probably just have to trust the stable with that one. And if they're suggesting it's a common issue, then probably just back them in. But I think you might be able to get a little bit of a better price anyway. So just wait off on that one.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, you never want issues with feet with horses, but just having a bit to do with horses in stables like myself. I know what they're saying. It's not like a different plate or anything like that. It's just basically to increase the surface area so that they can actually get the shoes on. They're basically just saying he's got small feet that are brittle, so when you're trying to hammer the nails in, sometimes the feet can break off. So it's probably just a little bit of support so the farrier can get the shoe on. But interesting, yeah, and good on Archie Alexander for getting back to you with that. We have got a question come through from Graham about incentivise, but we'll leave that for when we get on to
that later, I think.
Yeah, we'll touch on that later. We're going to get to that. But like I said, if you do have any comments or thoughts, make sure you send them through and we'll try and address them as we go. All right, let's get into my best bet of the day, which is going to come up in the Everest. We'll pull up a quick market here from betdeluxe.com.au because this is a fascinating market. And I remember it's changed even in the last 5 minutes. Trent, since we've gone live. I'll just make this full screen. So we've got Nature Strip, who's now been backed into clear favoritism at $3.10 with Bet Deluxe, Classique Legend $4.20, Eduardo $5.50, Guitra $6, Mask Crusader rounding out those in single figures at $8.50, and then you're out to the likes of Home Affairs down the bottom at $9, and then you're out to double figures the rest. It's interesting we pulled this market up because we were talking about in our chat group this morning about some betting options with the Everest, and I suppose it's a good segue into my best bet of the day here because I'm going to make Nature Strip my best bet of the day at Randwick. This is race 7. We're talking it is race 7. We're talking about horse number 1, Nature Strip. I suppose let's touch on each of the runners in the Everest, shall we? And we'll start with Nature Strip.
Yep.
And Trent, this is a horse that is firmly in your boyfriend's list. He's probably the top. I'm going to say he's the top of.
He's number one.
Number one, without a doubt.
Yeah, no doubt.
And he's a horse that I found hard to catch in his career, and I always get stuck into you about how you're always with Nature Strip. But I'm going to jump on the bandwagon today. I'm with him. I just think this race sets up perfectly for him. And, I'm very big on patterns in horses and patterns in horse preparations, et cetera, And this just reeks of basically his last preparation where he won the Black Caviar Lightning Stakes first up. He then went to the Challenge Stakes at Randwick second up, got rolled by Eduardo. And then he came out in the TJ Smith and dead set mauled them. He bolted in. And on that occasion, he drew barrier 4, had to sit outside the leader, and did it very cozily. It was his peak performance of the preparation. And I just think things set up just about identically here. We saw him win first up in the Concorde. He won very easily. He then went down to Eduardo in the shorts last start. I'll play that replay as I go here. This is the shorts where you can see Nature Strip in front there on the rail, Eduardo on his outside and Guitra on the rail behind them without much luck. So Eduardo rolls him here. Guitra, as I've just alluded to, was the luckless story, but 4 weeks between runs. He's coming here third up from a spell. Chris Waller is just an absolute master at getting this horse and all of his horses for that matter to peak on the big day. And I just think he's in for a really big run here. Third up from Australia, he's had 7 starts, 5 wins. His record in the wet is just outstanding. 9 starts, 6 wins, 1 second placing. Gets a barrier extension on for the first time in his career, which I found interesting. But the barrier draw, barrier 10, I think it's ideal for him. I think he would just cruise across, probably sit outside the likes of Eduardo, who potentially kick up to hold the lead and make a race of it. And I think that it just allows him to kind of settle into his race. And I think he's probably the best horse in this field. So yeah, I'm pretty confident he gets the job done here. If he produces a performance like he did in the TJ Smith last preparation, I think he'll be winning this. And like we were saying in our chat group this morning, $4 about Nature Strip's a great bet. And then we are going live here, and he's $3.10 with Bet Deluxe. So the money's come for him, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him start shorter. So I'll handball over to you now, because I'm sure that you've got plenty you want to say about Nature Strip.
I don't have too much to say. I think he is an absolute moral, Nature Strip. Third up, perfectly primed. I think Eduardo has beaten him at 1100 before. We saw in the TJ, 1200's a different beast. Nature Strip can relax a lot better these days. He can just roll across as he likes, sit outside, and he is just going to be too strong for them. So super keen. I think he wins, and I think he wins well.
And Dylan's firing up in the chat here saying declared, followed by 3-unit bet, Tim. I haven't done my written preview yet. I do think that, I was about to say, I do think there are more chances in this race. Quite clearly, there are more chances in this race. But I'll get to that when I get my written preview up, after I've kind of sat down, assessed the market again. And I think it'll be close. 2 or 3 units for sure on Nature Strip. Mo Lester says, what times are you racing? This will be 4:15 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, Trent. Is that correct? I've got 1:15 Perth time.
Yeah, 4:15. Yeah.
I assume that's probably someone tuning in from overseas. So welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. And hopefully Nature Strip can get the job done for us. All right, we'll move on to our second horse in the Everest, Trent. We'll go quick comments on the rest of these runners. Horse number 2, plenty to say about him as well. Classique Legend, last year's winner of the race, of course. Comes into this year's race, first up, 3 trials under the belt, hasn't raced since the Hong Kong Sprint on Hong Kong International Races Day back in December last year. And then just as he was really kind of hitting his straps in Hong Kong, he bled and was sent back to Australia. How do you assess him? I think he's obviously a live chance. I think if you like Classique Legend, I'd be waiting. I think you're going to get a better price on the day. He's already out to around $4.20, $4.40, and I think he's going to start more than $5, probably $6 on the day if you're keen. The real positive for Classique Legend is the map.
Yeah, agree. It's just a strange setup to go into this race first up. Les Bridge is a very shrewd trainer, and he's trialing very well Classique Legend. I think we had a question there from Daryl as well going into it, coming off. Yeah,
he says, "What do you think? What do you think about Classique Legend coming off a spell? Doesn't seem a great preparation."
I agree, because we know this is going to be a fast tempo. It's going to be a high pressure race, and I don't think. Yes, you can trial well and you can do track work, but I don't think anything really prepares you for a high pressure race other than race pressure in the end. So, look, I think at his best, he's the only one that could challenge Nature Strip's best, if that makes sense. His peak is
at his best. He'd win this race. At his best, he's better than Nature Strip, I think.
They're very similar.
You're reluctant. Yeah.
Very similar, but I don't think he's got the scenario to produce his best. Whereas I think Nature Strip is perfectly primed to produce his best. So for that reason, I have to be against him. But obviously, talent-wise, and he does have a great map. But talent-wise, he is right in the game.
And like you said, Les Bridge is just a freak of the game. Like you cannot underestimate Classique Legend. I think I get all these points. He's first up off a bleed, wet track, high pressure race. But Les Bridge is a freak. And when Les Bridge says he's going as good, like he's going good enough to win it, you just kind of have to listen sometimes. So I'll be having something on Classique Legend. I'm going to be waiting till the jump, even like probably it'll just be a saver, because I'm just terrified of that setup. And I'm just terrified of the horse in the stable. So, yeah. Moving on, number 3, Eduardo. Obviously rolled Nature Strip first up in the shorts. He rolled Nature Strip last preparation. But then we saw, like in the TJ Smith, where the big boys came to play, he led, and look, he ran well. He ran 3rd, but Nature Strip dead set towed him up.
Yeah, he did, and Mars Crusader got over him late without a whole lot of luck there, I thought as well. I think 1200's a bit of a stretch for him. I know he's won. He's only missed a place twice from 6 goes at 1200 meters. Won the Doomben 10,000 over 1,200 meters earlier this year. But I just think at
And
this
loves
real elite
wet ground.
level, it does love wet ground. He's probably the best wet
7
tracker in
wins
the
from
field.
9 starts.
But I just think 1,200 meters when he's got Nature Strip who can relax a little bit better and sit outside him, I think 1,200 meters just really sees him out at this very elite level. We saw that in the TJ. We saw it in the Everest last year. He went out too hard, faded badly. Look, he's going to be right there. He's be giving his all again. I just think that last 50 meters is going to be, he's going to start paddling a little bit. So I have to be against him with how keen I am on Nature Strip. But again, he's another one that'll probably stick on and run top 4.
Yeah, and I backed him in in this year's TJ Smith, and like I made a really strong case for him to roll Nature Strip, and Nature Strip just belted him. So I'd be with Nature Strip. Yeah. All right, moving on. Number 4, Geetra. Now we saw him in the shorts. I'll put that replay back over the screen so we can just have another quick look. And he was luckless. He really should have challenged the front two. You can see him here held up on the rail in the white cap, blue silks. He looks under the pump here, and then just late in the race, where he's starting to warm up, the gate just slams shut in his face, and he basically goes to the line untested for the last 50 or 100 metres from this point on. Can he win?
I think he can win. I think he's a very good sprinter when he's right. He ran 3rd in this race to Classic Legend last year. I think Bivouac ran 2nd in that race. I also have a query with him at 1,200 meters, which is a little bit strange seeing as he run 3rd in this. I think his real best form is at 1,000, 1,100 as well. He's beaten Nature Strip a couple of times over 1,000. He beat him at a Lightning at big odds, and he beat him in another race in Sydney over 1,000 meters last year as well. So, look, it's a little bit of a query. He is fresh again for this, which I do like. He's also another very good wet tracker, so that'll be no problems. Barrier 1, is that a bit of a query again? It could potentially see a similar scenario as last start.
Yeah, and I'd probably have him almost 3 back the rail from Barrier 1.
Yeah, that's where I've got him as well.
And I agree about 1,200. 9 starts. Look, he's placed in 8 of them, but he's only won 1 of them. And I do take your point about the wet track. He's had 10 starts in the wet for 5 wins and 5 placings. So he's going to be right around the mark. He's just going to need a little bit of luck. And if that rain does come down and suddenly the inside's completely off, he's as good.
Yeah, that's my query as well. Yeah,
Anthony comments and says Nature Strip is an Everest choker. Get on Geetra. Oh, Anthony, there he is. What price? There's $6, and you're going to get better about Geetra with betdeluxe.com.au if you like him. So you're at least getting a price. And I like someone who puts their balls on the line before the race. Moving on, trekking, taking Godolphin's slot. There was some conjecture whether Paul Laley would have been better suited, but they've gone with the tried, tested, and trusted method of trekking. He never really runs a bad race. I would think he's probably outclassed here, though he was pretty unlucky in the Moya last start.
Yeah, he was. That was 1,000. He's better suited 1,200. He always seems to run. I think he's run in this race the last 2 years and run really well. He really loves fast tempos, is one thing to note about him. Wet track is a big knock, though. I think he needs for a good track to show his best, and he's probably also a little bit past his prime, which probably was a couple of lengths off the best anyway. So really consistent horse, really good sprinter, but I think he doesn't set up perfectly for this.
Yeah, ran 3rd 2 years ago behind Yes, and then 4th last year behind Classic Legend. So he's back for his 3rd crack at it. All right, let's get on to horse number 6, Masked Crusader. Now, this win that I'm playing over the screen right now was absolutely, almost freakish. Tommy Berry almost cooked it, but he got away with it because the horse just accelerated so quickly. This was just an excellent win in the Premier Stakes, but I really have some queries about this form reference. Trent, any thoughts?
Yeah, look, the horses that he's going past there are standout. He's got Embracer, who's managed to somehow get a slot running into 3rd there. You can't be giving the likes of Nature Strip Eduardo 8 lengths on the corner and expect to run them down like that. So, look, the big query is obviously if he steps better, but he's drawn barrier 9. I just can't see any scenario where he's not last pair or at very best second to last pair. So, look, he was good in the TJ earlier this year. Didn't have heaps of luck. I still think Nature Strip was too good and would have beaten him anyway. I just think he's going to be getting home and flashing late again. And probably getting into a top 4, top 5 spot, but I don't want to back him to win.
No, this horse is one of mine. You know how much I love this horse. I've had a lot of good results on this horse, including last start. I think it's my best bet of the day last start. And I'm a stats freak. And he's had 6 starts to the distance for 5 wins in a second. 4 of those have been at this track and distance. And the Hawks team, like, what can you say about Team Hawks? Just grand finals, they just have them on song. We saw that in the 1,000 Guineas yesterday with Yearning, who, you know, wasn't considered a chance.
To start before.
Yeah, so you can't underestimate this stable. But I agree with you. The start's going to be all important for him. If he blows the start and gives them 3 lengths at the start, it's curtains for him. If he jumps with them and settles worse than midfield and not last, then look out in the straight. Scotty Dude 182 commenting, Mars Crusader will be 7 lengths off Superstars. He beat a bunch of scrubs last start. That's well summed up, Scotty.
Spot on, Scotty.
And now watch him come out and absolutely scream home over the top. Keep these comments coming. This is great stuff. We'll move on to horse number 7, Wild Ruler. Of course, the last start winner of the Moya Stakes at the Valley. Trent?
Yeah, I think the Moya's been kind of disregarded as a form line for this race. I can understand why. I think Wild Ruler, I don't really like him on wet ground. I think he's another one that needs a good track. And he also draws really wide here, which is very tricky for this horse because he has early speed and he likes to be just off the leaders, but I'm not sure whether he can get that from barrier 11. So whether he gets stuck 3 wide, which you won't be able to win sitting 3 wide in this race, or has to go right back, is a query. So look, I think his form is a little bit below these. We saw first up, Nature Strip was basically in first gear and beat him over the 1,000. So I think he will struggle to get near these, to be honest.
Yeah, hard horse to assess. Wide barrier, not great for him. Wet track also not great for him, but 2 out of 2 at the track and distance. But yeah, I would agree there. Horse number 8, the Singapore Superstar, the Inferno. Of course, ran second to Wild Ruler in that Moya Stakes, Trent. Prior to that, won the McEwen at the Valley. Barrier 12, I would say not ideal for him, but he does kind of tend to get a little bit back anyway.
Yeah, it's not too bad. He'll get back anyway.
Not the end of the world for him. Is he a blowout chance here? Currently $31.
I thought he was probably the one that, if you were looking for a roughie, could potentially show up, just because he's got that X factor and upside, and we potentially haven't seen the best of him yet in Australia. Obviously, it's very hard to line up the Singapore form, but I think his last 2 runs have been at 1,000 at the Valley, where he stormed home, just missed Wild Ruler last start. I think up to 1,200 is definitely going to suit him, and the fast tempo as well. You saw in Singapore, he just kind of got back off these fast tempos and charged home. Wet track's a bit of it is an unknown with him. I have no idea how we'll handle that, so that's a query. Look, I think he's probably a better chance than Wild Ruler out of the Moya. Whether he can measure up here, I'm probably not sure, but I think he's not the worst exotics or worst roughie if you wanted to have something on.
Yeah, it'd be some story if he was to win. I'll tell you, the Inferno, old Cliff Brown, Regan Bayliss, Group 1 Reagan on board after a Group 1 double the other day. More comments coming in. Dylan saying, got a good feeling Mars Crusader will be in a whole different suburb coming around the bend. There's a fair chance if he gives them three lengths at the start, there is a fair chance of that, Dylan. Dexter, we'll get to your comments in a second. Anthony saying he locked in $11. What horse was he talking about? Geetra. $11 about Geetra. That is a decent price. Yeah, he won't. I don't think he'll start $11. Okay, moving on. Horse number 9, Embracer. Absolutely no hope.
Yep, none.
10, Lost and Running. Absolutely no hope. The only thing with Lost and Running is, what does he do from barrier 2?
I think does he try and kick up and hold leaders back? That's probably where I would have him.
Does he throw a spanner and works and lead?
I don't think he's quick enough to lead. I don't think he's quick enough to lead. Eduardo would be too fast for him early. Yeah, look, he promised a lot last prep. I was never a huge kind of believer on him. I wanted to see him do it, and I don't think he has shown at this prep. Last run was okay, but Mars Crusader still went straight past him, so I can't have him.
Horse number 11, Libertini. Well, if it's a soft 7 and if this rain continues, she might as well start running now.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I like I like her fresh because she's a very good fresh horse. She beat Classic Legend, I think, last year fresh. But yeah, she just needs it bone dry, and she's not going to get that. So she's just almost doing an automatic pen job.
Yep. Horse number 12. Dexter, we'll throw your comment up now, mate. Home Affairs will win. And I'm in Dexter's comment, in his corner. I'm definitely going to be having something on Home Affairs. I backed him in the Heritage Stakes first up, and he jumped straight to the front. Now, granted, it was a really, really biased track that day to like those on speed on the rails, and he jumped straight to the front. Great ride, Nashville Willard. Showed him a clean pair of heels. He beat Paul Laley. Hey?
Was that Golden Rose Day?
Oh, potentially 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not sure. Yeah. Someone in the comments will fix us up. But he beat Paul Laley, who then came out and won last weekend. So the form has kind of been franked, and this just kind of reeks a little bit of yes, yes, yes. You know, the 3-year-old in the field, Chris Waller, he's a colt. Glenn Boss on, Coolmore, 53 kilos. Would not be surprised if this horse gave us a really good run for his money. He's currently priced with Bet Deluxe at $9. I'm not sure what the price will do, to be honest. Barrier 6, look, he's not going to lead this field like he did in the Heritage first up. He won't be leading, but he should get a decent enough run just off the speed, I would have thought. Can he win?
Yeah, I've seen a few people making the case that he'll try and lead with the lightweight. I didn't think that. I thought he'd probably land 1-1 from Barrier 6. Look, he's tricky, isn't it? I thought yes, potentially had a better setup. He was coming, I think he was third up or so, coming back from the Golden Rose at 1,400 meters into a high pressure race. Whereas this horse is only second up, coming out of an 1,100 meter race, and now he's going to have to sit very close to a very fast tempo. I don't know just whether that's going to be too much for him here. So look, I'm happy enough to kind of be against him here. He is obviously a danger with that lightweight and just how much improvement he's made. But like I said, I'm still declaring Nature Strip, so I can't really be getting involved with too many others.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit like that, eh? There's one comment that sticks in my mind with Home Affairs, and that was last preparation. I remember J-Mac rode him. I can't remember what race it was in. Let me find it. Hang on. It could have been even the Slipper or the Todman.
He rode him in the Slipper.
Yeah, and I remember he got off after the Slipper and just said, this horse is going to be a lovely 3-year-old. Like, this horse is going to be a serious horse when he's 3. And just forever when he said that, like, it's just been etched into my mind that this horse when he's 3 is going to be the real deal. And he showed that
first up. Really well.
Tried super. And, like, while I had him ready to go first up, you know, he had 3 trials.
Probably to get a slot.
Potentially.
Get the slot for Coolmore, yeah.
Potentially. And he is a colt. So, yeah, I'm fascinated by what the market's going to do. I'm fascinated by how he's going to run. I'm definitely going to be trying to save on him at double figure odds. I think you have to respect. I'm with you, Dexter.
If I were having a saver, I think it would be him.
Yeah. He's just a little bit of the X factor, like, you know what I mean? The 3-year-old with the lightweight. But to sum up, as a betting strategy, and like I said, this will be fully published in my race-by-race preview on racingbet.com.au, but I'll be having a real good crack at Nature Strip here. I think he sets up really well. I think he's probably the best horse in the race, going the best. And I just love the run he's going to get. So going to be having a decent crack at him. Potentially looking to save up on Classic Legend and Home Affairs. I think Classic Legend, like I've said, will get out closer to the race, so you get a better price. Probably try and save on those 2 if I can. And, yeah, we've got to try and take on the rest, taking on the likes of Mask Crusader, probably take on Guitar as well. Trent, all out Nature Strip?
Yeah, super keen Nature Strip. If you wanted something else, I think the Inferno, I think you probably get a better price than what he is now. I think you probably get closer to 50-1. If you wanted something at value, he might be the Smoky. But very keen Nature Strip. I think he's a moral. I think he'll win and cement himself as the best sprinter since Black Caviar.
How is one of the organisations, I can't remember who it was, we won't say who it was, popping up the other day, if you could choose one sprinter in history to run in the Everest, who would it be? Maybe Black Caviar, potentially.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the main race of the day. One of the other, the other main
Dylan's just said here again, what price do you think Nature Strip will jump at? Dylan, I think he'll start $3, bang on $3.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised. Yeah, high 2s, 280, 290. I wouldn't be surprised to see him absolutely go off here. Nature Strip, I think The best you're getting at the moment is around 360, basically across the board. I wouldn't be surprised, to see him start $3. He's a very easy horse, I think, for the syndicates to get a hold of. He's going to go forward. Very similar setup to the TJ. Waller will have him bang on. So, I think he'll continue to shorten, Dylan. All right, let's get back to the Caulfield Cup, Trent. And we do have a comment coming through, which will pop up in just a sec. Barrier 20 for Incentivise. Thoughts there?
Yep.
How does it affect the race? And how are you going to be betting after the barrier draw?
I think it's not the best barrier, but I think it's a good barrier. I'd much prefer him drawn out than drawn in. I think Preble can just jump out of the gates. He can take his time to just roll across. And what I think it will do is force a genuine tempo with a couple of potentially trying to kick up there. And I think we saw last start in the Turnbull Stakes, if you want to pop that one over the top in a second, they all rode to beat him. Mount Popper went forward. Sir Dragonet went forward. Persan kind of kicked up. They all tried to beat Incentivise, going at a brutal tempo out in front. He was absolutely there to be beaten. You see Mount Popper's 20 lengths away, very elegant, had the run of the race just behind the speed and couldn't handle the pressure. Young Werther at the 200 looks like he's going to go straight past him, and you just watch Incentivise through the line. He's holding him comfortably, in my opinion. I think they could have gone another 100 metres. He still wouldn't have caught him. So, look, I think he is a proper stayer, this horse. What he's been doing his last two runs in the Maccabi Diva and the Turnbull have just been a bonus. Gets out to 2,400 metres now. We saw in Queensland he got to 2,400 in that Tats Cup. Yes, he didn't beat much, but he won it by 12 lengths. It was a huge win. And we've seen that he's already measured up at the best races in Melbourne. So barrier 20, he'll roll across. I think he'll end up sitting probably outside the leader, which I think will end up being Homesman. And from there, he's going to take a lot of beating. I don't think a wet track will be an issue. Brett Preble trialled him on a heavy, said he went fine. Stable said he's going fine on heavy tracks, and the breeding suggests it should be fine as well. So the market's taken him on a little bit with the wide draw. I hope they continue to do so. And if we
245 with Bet Deluxe, what do we think? Is it going to keep getting out, or do you think there'll be, it'll firm
My
up?
prediction is, I think he was almost odds on before the barrier draw. My prediction is he'll get out to $2.90, $3, and then in the last,
$3.
But then in the last 10 minutes or so they're really going to crunch him late. I think he starts back closer to 230, 240 once a few of the big teams get involved. So. Look, I think the 250 or so at the moment is still a very backable price for the best horse in the race. I think he's going to win, and I think he's going to win well.
$3, you reckon, Incentivise? If they,
I think he'll touch it on a flop.
Incentivise, I'll be launching.
Yeah.
While we've got the market up, Incentivise currently $2.45, favourite with betdeluxe.com.au. We get down to $8 for Delphi, $9 for Young Werder, Young Vector, as Matty Hill says, Young Werder, and double figures the rest, The Chosen One and Explosive Jack. Okay, so thoughts on some other runners, Trent?
Yeah, so I think probably the main danger horse I've had a lot of time for is number 10, Delphi. I kind of a preview show about 4 or 5 months ago. I had him as my Melbourne Cup horse. I think that's looking all right now. He was very good 2-back in the Naturalism, really charged home, just missed Nonconformist. We saw that form stack up already. Nonconformist was in front before and after the post in the Might and Power, just missing Probabile. Then he went to the 2400 of the Herbert Power last week, given a great ride by Ollie to just take off mid-race, and was full of running through the line. He's a proper stayer, this horse, from he's got form over 2800 or so in Ireland. I think he's just going to follow Incentivise wherever he goes from that wide draw and see if he's good enough. And, I think he's the main danger. Of the others, I would say Young Werther can run a good race, but I thought he had the race run to suit in the Turnbull, kind of being off that really fast tempo and had his chance to beat Incentivise. So I struggle to see him turning the tables, but I think he'll run really well. And if we got all of that rain and maybe then some, and we're on a heavy 9, heavy 10, I think I'd probably have a couple of dollars on Quick Thinker. Whether he's good enough, probably not, but he's a serious wet tracker. The heavier, the better for him. Did win an ATC Derby on a wet track, so he'd be my absolute blowout in the race if it was a heavy 9 or worse. But
this
I think Incentivize is going to be very hard to beat.
This is the Delphi race we're just putting over the top now. You can see him out in front.
Yeah,
This
so you
is
see
the early move
Ollie
you
takes
spoke
off
of from
early.
Ollie.
And you see the chosen one in the
finishing
pink
off.
cap running on well. He's another good hope as well. Like he ran third in this race last year. Check out Incentivize. That was probably a stronger race with Anthony Van Dyke and Very Elegant winning, of course. Whether he can turn the tables here, he probably can. I think he gets a nice map. They'll have him ready to go here, the Murray Baker and Andrew Forsman team. Probably doesn't want too much rain, though, the chosen one. He might be a little bit better on just good to soft tracks. I think he'll run another honest race, but we can talk about all these chances for a long time, but I just think if Incentivize does what he did last start or does what he did in the Tats Cup in Queensland, I just think they'll really struggle to get past him. He's just a really good stayer, this horse. So very hard to beat. And Delphi, the main danger.
Graham's earlier comment was, if Incentivize won the Caulfield Cup, would you run him in the Melbourne Cup or rest him for next year?
Absolutely, I would run him in the Melbourne Cup. No point not to. You'd probably get half a kilo, maybe a kilo penalty. He'd get in just under Spanish Mission. I think he was top weight with 57. You don't get too many chances to do a Cups double. Next year he's probably going to get 58 kilos, be top weight for everything. So absolutely, I think he's going to get better the further they go. No point not running him in the Melbourne Cup. Of course, if he comes through it, fine.
So then the follow-up question to that is, can he do the double, or does he go to the Cox Plate?
I doubt he goes to the Cox Plate. They've kept him in the noms just in case he happened to be a late scratching or something in this race. There's people suggesting he could win all 3 this year, which I wouldn't put past him, to be honest. He's a pretty good horse, but
it's a big ask.
Yeah, I think the last horse to do it was escapes my mind. I can't remember. I'll get back to you next week. But yeah, I think
someone in the comments might tell us.
Yeah, I think he can definitely win the Melbourne Cup, 3,200 metres Flemington. And yeah, the Cups double is very much on the cards for him. If he wins here, he'll probably start $3, $4 favourite in the Melbourne Cup.
Well, I've got a ticket at 30 to 1 on Spanish Mission, so I'd be very happy if he ran second in the Melbourne Cup.
I think it was ethereal there. Graham's come in. I think it was ethereal quite a while ago.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Daryl also puts in, Incentivize likes the rail and won't get it from barrier 20. Interesting take.
I don't think he needs the rail. We saw in his Tats Cup when he basically sat outside the leader and won by 12, coming down the middle of the track. So I don't think he needs the rail. And you'd also think this track could be fairly wet by now. I think there's a good chance that the inside they'll be getting off the fence. So I've got no issue with him sitting outside the leader again and getting to the best part of the track. I'd much rather him out there than something on the rail and something trying to cross him and he ends up in a pocket. So no issues there, Daryl. I'm happy with him drawn out.
All right. So betting strategy then for the Caulfield Cup.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen Incentivize. I'm going to have a small saver on Delphi just because I think he's pretty much the only danger I've got. I think he's a really good stayer. And if it was very, very wet, this is just a weather-dependent bet, I'd have something very small on Quick Thinker as an upset result. But Incentivize clearly on top. I think he'll take a power of beating.
All right. That sums up the Caulfield Cup. If there's anyone who wants any other thoughts on any runners, post them in the chat now. We'll try and get to them as we just dribble on for a little bit longer. Supercoach, what was the wash up from the Supercoach on the weekend? Once again, I didn't put my team in, so I'm flying. I think Billy forgot to put his team in as well. So the boys here at Racing Bet are really, really going well. I did all right
last week. I did a lot better. I think we've had a few more.
Who did you have as your captain?
Who did I have as my captain? Oh, I had Zaki, but I think everyone had Zaki, so that didn't actually work out that badly. Most people had Zaki captain in a Group 1 at $1.20 or whatever he was.
Well, while we're talking about him, what were your thoughts on Zaki last weekend and, heading towards the Cox Plate after we saw Animo come out and win the Guineas?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I think Zaki's last, like I thought I was in the Underwood at 1800 meters. It was a little bit tradesman-like. It probably wasn't the best that he could go. And then last start, I thought he had his chance, to be honest. Maybe the tempo didn't quite suit. I think the firm track commentary is wrong. Annabelle Neesham came out and said he won on very firm tracks up in Queensland, and there was no issue there. So I don't think that was the problem. Can he bounce back? Probably his best is very good, but it's not what you want to be doing.
Yes, he can bounce back.
He can. I don't know. I reckon Animo down with the 49.5, will it a ride? I think he'd be my top seed at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not discounting that, but I wouldn't be sacking Zaki at all.
No, it'll be interesting to see what the market does with him coming off that dominant SP. I'm not sure what it'll do, to be honest. It should be a cracker next week.
Dexter saying, thoughts on young Werther?
Yeah, good chance. Dexter, I think he had his chance to beat him last start, though, and he couldn't. I think Incentivise had his measure. And I think he will do again, but I think he's a very big top 4, top 3 chance.
And thoughts on Malkovich? Is that in Melbourne or Sydney?
That's in Melbourne, race 10. I actually haven't finished that race in depth. I haven't finished that race in depth yet, Dylan. I was about to do it after this. I think he's one of the obvious chances, though, but you have to check in for the full preview, to be honest. I don't want to give you anything misinformation there.
And quick one just through from Tony saying, Gunstock in the 5th, wet unknown Caulfield.
Don't think wet will be an issue.
You're really getting put on your toes.
Really running through here. I don't think wet will be an issue at all for Gunstock. He's Tavistock, all New Zealand breeding. I think he just profiles as a real wet tracker. I don't have him on top, though. I thought he just looks like he's going to really need maybe even further than 2,000 meters. I thought Micro was potentially the horse to beat there coming out of the stake. So at the odds, happy to be with Micro in that 2,000 meter race 5.
Okay, very good. Any other thoughts before we sign off?
I think we've covered plenty of races, plenty of horses. Thanks for all the comments, everyone. It's good to see everyone getting involved. Give Nature Strip and Incentivise strength. As I think Tim's just suddenly disappeared. So thank you very much, everyone. We will be back to do it all again next week for Cox Plate. Oh, he's coming back in.
Brief disconnect issue. My apologies to everyone. Yes.
I was about to wrap up.
I was trying to say about that. Any final comments?
No, I think that covers everything. Thanks for the comments, everyone. It's just like I was saying, give Nature Strip and Incentivise strength in the features on Saturday.
Yeah, and the comments are still going off. This is fantastic. Do this every week, guys. Graham saying, last thought, Nature Strip owes me money from last year. Lol. Dylan saying, cheers, lads. Always a pleasure. Thanks, boys. Thanks, lads. Yeah, well, thanks for your company for another week. Like we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we are looking to start a premium side of the website, which will be done through, at this stage, a Discord channel. We're basically going to make a private premium chat group where you'll get all our thoughts throughout the week. So stay tuned for that. We just had a little hiccup or two trying to get it set up, but we're working through that, and we'll be sure to let you know more details when we've got everything sorted. So if you are keen to join us in that Discord group and get our thoughts every day of the week for some things that just don't go on the site, then you'll have the option to sign up. Nice and cheap. We're not going to charge an arm and a leg or rip you off or anything like that. But it should be a bit of fun, and we're looking forward to bringing that to you. So thanks for joining us once again. We'll be back to preview. What is it, Cox Plate next weekend, Trent?
Cox Plate next weekend. Can't wait.
Cox Plate into the Cup. All right, looking forward to it. And thanks once again to Bet Deluxe for sponsoring this week's episode. Be back and catch you all again next week.